Yes, good afternoon and welcome to St Joseph's Park in Knockmore. We're at the home ground of the back-to-back Mayo Senior Football Champions, who welcome Aghamore back to the area for the second time in a year for the first round of the championship. Let's take a quick check on the teams before the action gets underway. We'll start with Knockmore. And by our count, they go with 13 of the team that started last season's county final win over Belmullet. The odd men out, as it were, the wingbacks Aaron Timlin and Declan Melvin. They come into the Knockmore starting 15 for their first taste of senior championship action from the start. In the middle of the field, it's an experienced pairing of Kevin McLaughlin and Shane McHale, while up front, so many big names, so many threats, with top scorer Peter Knockton coming into the championship on the back of a very impressive league campaign for Ray Dempsey's team. Looking then at Aghamore and the management team of Paddy Finnegan, Desi Campbell and Martin Hunt. Will they go with the same 15 that was listed in the programme? As far as we can tell at this stage, they're captained by James Lyons. They're number 12. They've got a very strong spine with Justin Kelly and David Kenny at the heart of the defence. Michael McNeve partnered by the experienced Enda Sweeney in the centre of the field. And up front, a lot of the focus, understandably, will be on the Mayo senior panellist Fergal Boland. He wears number 11. And keep an eye out also for number 15, Ross Egan, the former Mayo under-20 forward. Well, as you can see, it's a beautiful day for a game here in Knockmore. Conditions absolutely perfect. Our match referee is Jerome Henry from Castlebar Mitchells. His linesmen Christopher Burke and Jack Ruddy. And we're about 3 minutes away from throw-in. Crowd still making their way in. And just fanning out, spreading out around the field. And the teams going through their final warm-up and preparations. Delighted to welcome John Maughan. Who's alongside me this afternoon. He's a man who needs very little introduction. And John, as a former Crossmalina footballer, I suppose, first and foremost, Knockmore need very little introduction to you. You've had many battles down to the years. They're deserving county champions and they will be hard beaten again today.
I agree with you. We had a very, very healthy rivalry back in 35, 40 years ago when I was playing with Crossmalina, and we had a great relationship with them. Big battles on the field. Invariably, they were the stronger team, and we had very, very few opportunities of beating them. But nonetheless, they have been very, very impressive again with, as you said, back-to-back county titles and lots of experience throughout the team. And you mentioned just Kevin McLaughlin and Shane McHale there in particular, and also Ray Dempsey, who's in charge there, and we have managed the battle against him when I played with Mitchells, indeed, subsequently. But yeah, they have lots of experience. But a beautiful day for football, and really looking forward to it. As this orange weather alert we got and this week, long may they come our way, because I can tell you it's a magnificent day for football, and just looking forward to hopefully what it's going to be a good game.
Yeah, beautiful sunshine spraying all over the field at the moment. We mentioned a lot of the players who will be in action, just to name check one or two who won't. Brendan Harrison, out injured for Aghamore. He's still recovering from a cruciate ligament injury. He is listed among the Aghamore backroom team. While on the Knockmore side, I see Kieran Langan still not fit enough to tog out and play, and he won't see any game time this afternoon. And there was that late change to the Knockmore starting team as well, of course. Number 24, Kieran King, who missed all of the league campaign through injury. He's back in, a very timely return. And I suppose, John, if you are in the Aghamore camp, they're the outsiders. They came here last year, were turned over by 6 points in the end. How do you set up? How do you go about your business trying to beat a Knockmore team that haven't lost a championship game for 2 seasons now?
Yeah, like I mean, we mentioned off air there about Paddy Finnegan, who's been involved with Aghamore for the last couple of years. He's the brother of Sean Finnegan, who's going to join Kevin McStay's backroom team, who's been involved in management himself with Westmeath Ladies and more recently with Kildare. But Paddy Finnegan apparently has a very sense of style of football, and I imagine coming down here they'll be very, very cautious in the opening quarter to sit back, and I wouldn't be surprised if they'll concede all kickouts to Knockmore early on just to settle into the game. Look, at Aghamore will realise they're complete underdogs coming down here to the home patch of Knockmore, and I suspect they'll be very, very cautious. They will play very conservatively early on, and if they manage to get a foothold and get any bit of ball into the likes of Fergal Boland and James Lyons in the half-forward line, they're two formidable players with lots of experience. And Ross Egan, who I've watched for a long number of years since he played minor with Mayo, and indeed in recent times on the 20 level. So it's all about getting a foothold around middle of the field. But they're, Aghamore Aghamore might struggle against Kevin McLaughlin and Shane McHale. I think Kevin has gone into his 34th year, if not 34 already, and that's a formidable pairing around middle of the field. But just Knockmore or Wiley, they're I know they were beaten in the league final by Castlebar Mitchells, and if anything, that might be a good thing because it'll afford an opportunity to the Knockmore management team to shake them up a bit in case they were getting any little bit complacent. Incidentally, I saw them down in a scroll last Sunday morning. They were obviously having a workout there. I saw them all in the sea water, getting a little bit of therapy after a workout. But looking forward to it, Mike.
Yeah, we'll pause now for the national anthem. What a lovely rendition of our own Navian. Scene set, stage about to be cleared. Of course, the first shots have already been fired in this group in the championship. Ballahadreen and Ballina-Stephenites playing out quite the dramatic draw last night up in Ballahadreen. A late goal from David McBrien looked like it had snatched victory for Balla, only for Conor McStay to pop up with a late equaliser. So a point apiece for Ballina and Ballahadreen, and that gives either Knockmore or Aghamore an opportunity to go top of the table heading into round 2 next weekend, which incidentally Knockmore will have the short spin in the road to the Stephenites, and Aghamore, they will welcome Ballahadreen, their neighbours, to Aghamore. So you'll see already there's a few switches around the centre of the field. Conal Dempsey has gone in to partner Shane McHale, while Aghamore have moved James Lyons in there to stand alongside Enda Sweeney, and that means that Kevin McLaughlin is being deployed elsewhere. He'll start at wing forward by the looks of it as the referee Jerome Henry throws the ball in, and this first round Connacht Gold Mayo Senior Club Football Championship game is underway. Aghamore to play from right to left in the first half. They'll defend the village end of the ground on a field where they were beaten 113 to 10 points by the county champions in the first round last season. That's Conal Dempsey, early touch for him, sprays it up the line in front of Pierce Rutledge, two men who spent quite a bit of time in the Mayo senior squad last season. Back now to Kieran King in the unfamiliar number of 24 this afternoon. He is Knockmore's designated +1 sweeper, or whatever you'd like to label it yourself, as Knockmore creep forward across the halfway line for the first time. Aghamore have set their defence. They've brought 13 men back by my count, and it's up to Knockmore to try and break them down. A Knockmore team that have moved Conal Dempsey, by the way, right now into the edge of the square. Darren McHale, a man who's missed quite a bit of football this season through injury, gives it back to Peter Nyochton. Quick transfer to Aidan Orme. Orme can kick comfortably off right or left. It makes him quite a handful. Back to Conal Dempsey, who ran out in an arc there to try and make himself available for the pass. Good defensive work by Aghamore. They got in around the ball carrier. Little bit of afters. Peter Nyochton is the man who's on the floor, and actually Jerome Henry is going to hop the ball. So 90 seconds gone. They're still feeling each other out, trying to get up to the pace and the tempo. Yeah,
as we expected, Mike. I mean, Aghamore are going to play lots of numbers behind the ball early on. I'm not quite sure if who has the breeze out there, but 13 or 14 Aghamore guys behind the ball at the early start, as we expected.
So the Aghamore man on the ball there was Michael McNeve. He's had his pocket picked by Shane McHale, the midfield warhorse. Nice ball in over the top to Darren McHale. They've hit the net after 2 minutes, and no major surprise that it's Darren McHale that finishes the ball to the back of the net. It looked like Aghamore had that situation under control when Michael McNeve had possession, but Shane McHale used his power and his strength and before they knew where they were, Aghamore were picking the ball out of the back of the net.
Absolutely, and kept the ball low. A very, very astute finish by Darren McHale. Like, I mean, he is a player with formidable experience as well, but did all the right things. Didn't blast it at the goalkeeper, rolled it into the net, but it was the quality of the pass. I'm not quite sure who gave him that final pass that opened up the goal opportunity, but it was Aidan Norm. In fact, yeah, it was a very, very slick move, and a very disappointing start for Aghamore. So now they've got a decision to make. Will they just get more bodies up into the forward line, because that's a poor start for them, unfortunately, to concede a goal so early.
Well, last season it was Pierce Rutledge that put the ball in the Aghamore net. This time round it's Darren McHale. Jerome Henry just having a word with Peter Knockton, and it's a yellow card for the Knockmore number 15. He's in the book, and the Aghamore man who was on the floor there, Sweeney, back on his feet and good to go. So the restart will come from Adam Byrne, just trying to deliver the signal, and now the kick out goes over Sweeney, heading for Boland. There was pushing and shoving, free to Aghamore. Boland will take it, wants to take it quickly. It wasn't taken from the correct position. In fact, the free went against Aghamore. I think Fergal Boland there had backed himself that the free had gone Aghamore's way, but Jerome Henry just clearing up that matter, and away we go again as Sean Holmes gets his hands on the ball. The corner back away to Kieran King, and into the centre to Shane McHale. Knockmore well primed coming into this championship after a league campaign that saw them go all the way to the final, beaten after extra time by Castlebar Mitchells up the road in Ballina. But they couldn't have asked really for better preparation to get road tested for this very competitive group. Yeah,
I absolutely agree with Mike. And as I said earlier, just at the start of the game there, an opportunity for Ray Dempsey maybe to kick ass if there's any bit of complacency coming into the team.
Mention of Ray Dempsey, I see him just away to our right hand side here. He's got the championship haircut by the looks of things for the occasion. Paddy Finnegan, his opposite number, sporting a very fashionable baseball cap. Both of them right now poker faced and watching on. We're 4.5 minutes in this game, still taking shape, as now Knockmore mirror Aghamore, and they sit deep and they bring 13 men. In fact, you can make it 14 men back behind the ball into their own half, and now it's Aghamore's turn to try and break them down. This is Conor Hunt. He takes the pass from Tom O'Flaherty forward to Conor Byrne. Very experienced Aghamore forward. Doesn't tend to give the ball away too often, and he doesn't this time either. Fergal Boland takes on the shot. It was just outside his range, though. I would suspect, looking at the flags in front of us, John, there's a slight breeze. It's at Aghamore's backs, and that's perhaps half the reason why Boland took on the shot.
That would suggest that. Like, I mean, that was about 45 metres out. Yeah, unfortunately for him, lacking a little bit of accuracy, but nonetheless, a half a chance for Aghamore to get on the scoreboard, which they failed to capitalise on.
Here's Kevin McLaughlin, one of the best foot passers in the county, and he has picked out his man again. McLaughlin to Knockton, and over it goes. Well, it's simple when you play it like that.
Absolutely. Like, I mean, Peter Knockton is a guy that caught our eye in the last couple of years. He's a sublime finisher, but as you say, it was the quality of the pass. Like, I mean, that's the thing about Kevin McLaughlin. Like, I mean, the head is up. He knows exactly how to find us in the inside line, and he's such an experienced, quality footballer that he just laid it on the plate for Peter Knockton. A simple score for Knockmore. 34 this year, Kevin McLaughlin, but still going strong for Knockmore. Saw him in a couple of league games this season, and his left foot still as lethal as ever, as he showed there a moment ago, as the county champions ease into a 4-point lead, and Aghamore, the outsiders, begin to get a taste of what they're up against, as David Kenny, the talented dual player, gets his hands on the ball. Across now to Conor Hunt again. Aghamore trying to break the line, but easier said than done, as Boland plays a 1-2 with Conor Hunt. Ran into 3 Knockmore men, sucked them in, back to Boland, who makes an angle, and Fergal Boland clips a beautiful score on the run. His first after his second shot, and now a goal between them. Yeah, very slick hand pass exchange there, with Fergal supplying the finish. A top class score. They needed that just to get themselves settled into the game, and yeah, they're off the mark.
Well, they actually ended up in a relegation playoff last season, Aghamore, when the dust settled in the group stages. Had to beat Ball in that playoff to avoid the relegation final. but hoping for a much better campaign this time round. They've put in an awful lot of work over the last few months. League campaign was solid, if not spectacular, but it's all been really building up to today and this first acid test for the East Mayo lads as they deal with this latest Knockmore attack fairly capably and comfortably, and the ball is now in the hands of Conor Byrne again as Enda Sweeney comes forward. Byrne had continued the run. He's filling the role of playmaker around the middle of the field, but that ball was right down the throat of Kieran King. Such a clever sweeper, King. He just sits in front of that full back line. He's been doing it for the last 2 or 3 seasons. He's got it off to a fine art as Aidan Orme comes forward. A lot of movement ahead of him. He uses Kevin McLaughlin, whose first instinct is to look up and try and play the pass into the space. That one, though, just came off the outside of the boot, and that is out over the sideline. But already, John, we're only, 8 minutes into the game, and you can already sense just how comfortable Knockmore are in their own skin. Everybody knows their role. Everybody knows almost what's going to happen next.
There's no doubt they play with great guile and experience and know-how. That comes from the fact that they've won 2 county titles in a row, but they've lots of experience, and inter-county experience spread right around the park. But Aghamore are doing quite well now. That defensive strategy they've set up there, lots of sweepers, it's working quite effectively for them.
Nice pass by Ross Egan to pick out Boland again. He's the go-to man, being tagged by Sean Holmes in these early stages. Holmes is going man-to-man. That's a lovely ball inside, and quite a delayed reaction to call the mark, but Jerome Henry has given it. It was a good pass. It was a good take, and this presents Sean Oaktyg with a chance to swing over his first score. And that was really, really nicely done. That's
their best score, obviously, but very slick movement there. And they've really settled into the game now, Aghamore, and you can see their confidence just building a little bit. And as I say, their defensive setup is working quite effectively. And they're moving quite well.
Well, they have the breeze behind them. We can guarantee you that at this stage. As Colm Reap delivers the kick out to Rutledge, his mark is played up the line to Conall Dempsey, free to Knockmore. An almost American football style Knockmore move down the field with a couple of boot passes, and now they can set another attack in motion as Declan Melvin gets involved in the play across to Kieran King. Comfortable sweeping, comfortable going forward, just an all-round good footballer as Aaron Timlin creeps forward from the defence as well. Keeping it wide and spreading the play over there is Shane McHale. Knockmore players just clearing out of King's way here, Kieran King, just to open up some space for him. Aghamore have got their sweeper in position, trying to cover the runs of Conall Dempsey and Aidan Orme. That's just making life a little harder for Kevin McLaughlin than maybe he'd like, who pivots to lose Sweeney, and now Shane McHale gets involved again. It's constant moving from Knockmore, from the midfielders and the forward line. Moving, trying to create space, trying to keep Aghamore guessing as Shane McHale just tiptoes back across the 45 again. There's a burst forward made by Conor Flynn. That turned out to be a decoy run, and instead it's Kieran King who gets on the ball once more. We're 11 minutes into the first half. Double scores, the county champions in front. Peter Knockton, nice neat 1-2 with Darren McHale. Knockton from a tight angle, a little too tight. In fact, it hasn't even gone wide yet as Aidan Orme lets it run. I see Adam Byrne, the Aghamore goalkeeper there, just wondering where his full back line has gone, as Orme just sucks in a defender, feeds it back to Darren McHale, and that move probably deserved more. That's Knockmore's first wide.
But again, the numbers is just nearly impossible. If the ball is delayed anyway at all, getting into the full forward line, ideally they would want to get Peter Knockton and maybe Aidan Orme a little closer to goal and faster, more incisive ball into that full forward line, because I feel they pose a greater threat if they get quality early ball. But unfortunately it's a little bit slow, a bit ponderous around the middle third, getting into that full forward line, which facilitates Aghamore to get numbers back. And then the whole thing becomes a little bit choked, and we saw an example of that there, where a snatched effort that was always going to drift wide. But no, it's as I say, Knockmore appear to be playing all the football, but yet they're only 2 points ahead, and that early goal obviously has given them a little bit of a cushion. But no, Aghamore very much in this game and playing quite well.
So a stoppage here. Conor Kilkenny is down and needs some attention. That'll give us a chance, John, maybe to look around the field and talk to us about matchups that have caught your eye. Ray Dempsey has obviously decided to tag Fergal Boland with Sean Holmes, but what other matchups maybe should we keep an eye out for?
I would obviously Kev McLaughlin. He's a guy that makes Knockmore take them. Watching the county championship last year, he was the one guy when things were going poorly. He was the one guy you'd always look to, and looking forward to seeing Conor Dempsey. There's lots to talk about him as perhaps an inter-county footballer at senior level. I'm sure there's some of the Mayo senior management here watching him, but he really hasn't flourished as of yet. I know he hasn't had a brilliant league campaign by his standards, but I watched him this Sigerson and he's certainly impressed. But it's an opportunity for him today to show us what he's capable of.
Well, right now he's scampering back into his own half. Game has restarted again. Aghamore using the breeze just to service that full forward line. Now, though, they've been driven back out the field, and Tom O'Flaherty, the Mayo under-20 of earlier this season, can get involved again. There's a dummy run made one side of him. Instead, he uses Michael McNeve initially. Ball back to Conor Byrne, who has hit that an almighty belt. And Conor Byrne has kicked a fantastic point with the wind behind him to cut the deficit to just a single point. Lovely build-up, and the finish was something special.
Absolutely, top-class score from distance, and it's rightly, we now know for sure that the wind is assisting Aghamore in the first half, but it is a class finish, and it says very, very encouraging, not alone for those 15 Aghamore lads, but for the Aghamore supporters here in front of us. They were certainly encouraged by that. What was a classy score.
That's actually 3 points in a row for Aghamore. Sean O'Tygue, Fergal Boland and Conor Byrne all on target, and it's now heading towards 8 minutes since Knockmore's last score. The county champions just idling a little out in front. Ray Dempsey sending in some instructions. I think he's aware of that fact, as Declan Melvin is fouled on his way through. Enda Sweeney, the man who brought him down. This will be a free. Peter Knockton thought about the quick one, but with conditions the way they are, and with Knockton in such good form, he has instead decided to take a moment and have a shot at goal. This just outside the 45. He's got a very measured approach, but he hasn't struck that well at all, Peter Knockton. Easy for Aghamore to deal with, to cope with, and cleared away by Justin Kelly. Up to Boland, who's a constant moving target in that half-forward line. Ball clipped forward by Conall Hession. Poor ball. He was looking for the run of Tig, but found instead only Kieran King. As out comes Colm Reap to play sweeper-keeper. Former outfielder, of course. Won an All-Ireland Under-21 medal as a forward back in 2016. Now very much Knockmore's first choice keeper, as Conor Flynn and Shane McHale just get their wires crossed. Sean O'Tygue tries to chip the keeper Beckham style from the 45, and that flies wide. Probably worth a go.
It certainly was, yeah. But unfortunately he was well wide of the target. But a turnover there from Aghamore. They're getting in. Their work rate has been very, very impressive, and certainly that was an opportunity for them. But they're putting Knockmore under all kinds of pressure there now the last couple of minutes.
So Colm Reap probably a relieved man to see that ball fly wide a moment ago. Sean O'Tygue almost becoming a YouTube sensation there. He normally plays out around the middle of the field. He's been converted to an inside forward by Paddy Finnegan for this particular assignment, as Knockmore sweep down the field. The final shot from Adam Knockton, a converted fullback. Played quite a bit in the attack last season for Knockmore. But I suppose, John, it's the modern game. You go where you have to go, and you have to be an all-rounder.
Absolutely. Cornerbacks now are expected to be attacking force as well, and I see the Knockmore fullback and Aghamore fullback, both of them breaking up the field at every opportunity. Certainly the whole style and tradition of football as I knew it back then has completely changed, and it's all about strategies now, and kick-outs for and kick-outs against, and what you do, and this defensive style of football, at times not too easy or attractive on the eye, but nonetheless this is quite an open game and quite enjoyable.
Yeah, it's certainly now starting to open up with every minute that passes. We're into the second quarter here at St. Joseph's Park in Knockmore, and the back-to-back county champions still in front, haven't scored since the 6th minute though, and Aghamore spending more and more time inside the Knockmore half. Fergal Boland, that was a lovely sidestep to lose a defender or two. This is Ross Egan, and Ross Egan, who's a really lethal weapon in that full forward line, has kicked a terrific score, and for the first time the sides are level.
Yeah, I have to say that that's a fine. Ross Egan rode a great tackle there, showed his strength and power, and kicked a fantastic score for his right foot. But it's Fergal Boland. He's the guy that's making them tick. He's involved in every attack there, and he's so elusive and so pacey and agile that, and his vision is top class. I have to say he's been very, very impressive, but laid that on the plate for Ross Egan, who kicked a wonderful score.
That's now 4 in a row for Aghamore, 4 points in 10 minutes in fact, and they are back on level terms as Knockmore try their luck this time down along the left hand side. Pierce Rutledge cuts in. Just thought about the pass inside, but the sweeper is in his eye line. Instead, it'll be knocked in Gary Owen, old school style, looking for Orm or perhaps Melvin, but there was pushing, and there's been a foul on the Aghamore defender, and he's going to need attention as well. Play will be stopped here. I think it may be Conor Kilkenny again, and it is, who's in the wars. That's the second time he's gone down. Knockmore now... 3 shots have dropped short, and that was there was just a hint of panic in that last delivery.
I'm just about to say that, Mike. I mean, and that is most unlike Knockmore to throw in a skyscraper, a bomb like that up into the forward line. Not at all suitable the type of forwards that looking for that little pop pass in front of them, but that just a sign of a little bit of desperation and frustration creeping into play. Albeit, I'm looking down at Ray Dempsey. His body language is quite comfortable, and. Yeah, I just have a sense, though, that Knockmore really haven't fired yet, and I think wind assisted the second half. They might be a little more focused and might just be a little bit more, I suppose, direct in their play. But no, Aghamore, I have to say, have been playing that defensive style very, very effectively. And when they've got an outlet like Fergal Boland in particular, and I mentioned his name a couple of times, and it's like the James Lyons could kick into a form here now, and maybe Conor Hunt opened very, very impressively in the first quarter. Has died a little bit, but he was involved as a playmaker, as you alluded to, Mike. But no, Aghamore doing really, really well now and hanging right in there.
We're 19 minutes in. Conor Kilkenny looks to be in a bit of trouble here. He's doing his best to try and walk it off, and I think persuade himself as much as anything that he's okay, but he will do well to continue, you'd imagine. He is going to try and struggle on a little longer. It's a free to Aghamore taken by Robert Lyons, a 1-2 with the keeper. Robert Lyons just colliding with his manager there. That's something you don't see every day. Paddy Finnegan, a third man tackle on his own wing back.
Yeah, they're a bit slow getting off the pitch there, and the players certainly got in the way and hindered Aghamore, but they're lucky to get the sideline ball.
Paddy Finnegan just walking by Ray Dempsey, both men keeping to their own lanes, as it were. Just probably.
Well, Ray is not the type of man now that will do a dummy out of the way for anyone.
Probably for the best there. They just were like ships in the night, as Aghamore just. They're playing quite a bit of football here in an effort to get out of their own defence, and luckily the whistle sounds for them. Conor Kilkenny is trying to hobble towards the sideline, and I think he's about to give the signal now any moment that his race is run. So that's a blow. The cornerback is going to be out of the game shortly as Aghamore play keep ball. David Kenny, the former county minor, the All-Ireland winning Mayo minor in fact, gets on the ball and moves it out to the right hand side. Now Ross Egan pops up on the 45. He's got a lovely sidestep. He's not afraid to use it. Egan takes on the shot, and that flies across the face of goal and wide. It's only Aghamore's second wide, could so easily have been the score that put them in front, as in comes James McNeve, number 17, to replace the injured Conor Kilkenny. But 21 minutes in, Aghamore must be delighted. And there was an opportunity for them to sneak ahead, and I would have backed Ross to kick that one off his right, but drifted harmlessly wide because he had certainly made created the opening for himself. But unfortunately for them, he kicked a poor enough wide. We're up to 15 minutes now since Knockmore's last score. This is not like the county champions, and yet, of course, in that league final, John, a few weeks ago, they were so slow out of the traps. Mitchells were almost over the hill, and had the game wrapped up by the time Knockmore started to play. It has been an issue recently for them. Certainly, a question maybe, is it an appetite thing, maybe a little bit of complacency, because they have a lot of quality on their bench, albeit some of them a little bit aging, but I come down here expecting that Knockmore will be comfortable here, but they're certainly far from comfortable at the moment. Conall Dempsey, nice little pop pass to Kevin McLaughlin. Spotted the gap, goes through it. That's coming in, but it's not quite, or is it? Oh, that curled deliciously at the last moment, and it's gone over the bar. Kevin will tell you he knew exactly what he was doing, and I'm sure he did. Knockmore lead. First score in 16 minutes, and by God, it was worth waiting for.
It was a class score from Kevin McLaughlin, who's one of the classiest players on the pitch there. I mean, that's a wonderful score that he just, pulled it in at the last second, but a lovely, sweet score for its right. And that's sheer class. Like, I mean, there's not too many on the pitch that would do that.
I was just thinking, John, if you had an over-anxious umpire there, he would have flagged that wide, because we had a great view. It was heading 10 yards wide.
It was.
And it came in and dropped over.
It was a super score.
So Kevin McLaughlin is up and running. That was his first score of the match. Knockmore's first score for some 16 minutes. But the county champions are back in front. Aidan Orme trying to wriggle his way through. Referee playing an advantage, none coming. So he'll bring it back for the free in. And this is the thing about Knockmore, and we saw it here last season against Aghamore in that first round game. They can do so much damage in a matter of minutes.
And I tell you, the guy that created that opportunity, and I think it's Peter Knockton tapped this over the bar, was that man, Kevin McLaughlin. Quite for periods, but then when he realises, hey, we need a bit of leadership out here, he invariably provides us. And he created that opening for Aidan Orme. But look, we know the class that guy has, and at nearly 34 years of age, he's still displaying it here today.
Probably best way to describe his role in this first half so far is he's playing in a floating role, Kevin McLaughlin. He's been given a licence to go wherever he's needed as Peter Knockton swings over the free, and all of a sudden Knockmore have gone 2 ahead again, and they've hit 2 in a row. About 6.5 minutes left to half time. Kick out from Adam Byrne. Finds Tom O'Flaherty. Nailed a place down in the under-20 team under Maurice Sheridan earlier this season. Impressed as well, considering he's still not long out of minor, Tom O'Flaherty. In fact, I think he may still be awaiting his 18th birthday, the young Aghamore wing-back, as Michael McNeve tries to get that ball under control. James McNeve is in as well, by the way. He's in to replace the injured Conor Kilkenny, as James Lyons, the Aghamore captain, heads down this left wing. Decides to use Conor Hunt again, as Aghamore just sit in. They're well used to playing this sort of game. They can be patient, they'll probe, and inevitably they'll get this man, Fergal Boland, on the ball again. Boland just looking up, weighing up his options. Uses David Kenny. The two of them have hurled together for Turin for years and years. They know each other's games inside out. Kenny, such an athletic centre back, pops it back to McNeve again, who felt the challenge of Knockton, who's on a yellow, of course. McNeve went down, won the free, and Ross Egan is just wondering whether or not to lamp this in towards Sean O'Tyg, I think. No, goes short. James Lyons. Tyg is pulled out of the middle just to open it up a little bit for his teammate. Lyons, though, turned down a blind alley there. 4 Knockmore men in around him, and the referee has given the free out for barging.
I wonder, would it be a black card? I think it would be a hand trip there, as one of the Knockmore boys was about to play away. It'll be interesting to see what Jerome does here now. I thought I saw a hand trip. I hope not, for Aghamore's sake. It is, yeah, a hand trip. Yeah, rather innocuous, but he did when he was on the ground. He certainly tripped one of the Knockmore boys with a hand trip there. So that's unfortunate. 10 minutes in the sin bin.
Yeah, good spot by John Mahan. James Lyons is heading to the bin for 10 minutes, the Aghamore wing forward. So Aghamore will play the remainder of this first half, and indeed some of the second as well, with only 14 men, and that just gives the county champions a little bit of latitude, as Conor Flynn threads this through nicely for Darren McHale. He's being tracked by Justin Kelly over on that far side. Knockmore committing bodies into the attack, committing players into the forward line. Ball, though, was delivered poorly in the end. Easy for the Aghamore sweeper, and Tom O'Flaherty will try and break at pace right out of the centre, over to Conor Byrne on the far side. Aghamore have fallen 2 points behind, but still sticking very much to the game plan, as Fergal Boland hits the dust over on the far side off the ball. Not quite sure how he ended up on the ground there, but he's up again and good to go. James McNeve is trying to come through. Support outside from Byrne again. And now this is Connor Hunt to Boland, who's up and good to go, takes on the shot, perhaps still feeling a little rattled, and that shot flies wide. Aghamore's third wide, the second from the boot of Fergal Boland.
Yeah, shot selection wasn't really on there. He should have, I think, should recycle that ball, but no, Knockmore exerting great pressure. The likes of Peter Knockton getting back into the half back line and putting in tackles, Aidan Orme. That's the work ethic that Knockmore have. And if you slow down the attack at all, as Aghamore did on that occasion, Knockmore get lots of bodies back and smother any threat of a score.
10 minutes now since Aghamore's last score, by the way. They've dried up a little after that burst of 4 in 10 that put them back on level terms. Knockmore just asserting their dominance again without setting the world on fire. Adam Knockton pops it outside to David McHale, man who's bidding to lift the Moncler Cup for the 3rd season in a row. That would be quite a bit of history as Knockmore try to emulate the likes of Mitchells and Gary Moore as teams that did 3 in a row in the senior championship. Adam Knockton again heading towards the corner, just waited, bided his time, but delayed the pass a fraction too long actually, allows Aghamore in to win it back, and it's Robert Lyons, the de facto sweeper, who comes in to win the break, win the free, and yet another Knockmore attack just peters out.
Yeah, I think the Aghamore bench here was certainly looking for a black card there. Yeah, I know that I don't think he deliberately pulled him to the ground, but certainly quite animated here on the sideline. The Aghamore bench, they're looking for a black card to level things up, so to speak.
Knockmore men funneling back into their own half here now, just trying to clog it up as Aghamore, well, they thought about the fast break. Instead, they've gone backwards to come forwards. Conor Byrne involved again, as is O'Flaherty. It's the usual suspects who are trying to ferry that ball down the field into the danger men up front. Connor Hunt involved now, clips it into the centre, and David Kenny will slow it right down, and Aghamore go back to square one, as it were. Robert Lyons up from wing back, gives it inside as Knockmore just form that yellow wall across the halfway line. They're just getting into Aghamore's field of vision and making these kind of passes a little more difficult, but Connor Hunt has done well. He's looking for the run inside of Ross Egan, but covered by McHale. David McHale 45. Lets it run. 45. It's a 45, and I think Shane McHale is just wondering why his captain let it run there, but I think David McHale, to be fair, thought it had last touched an Aghamore man, but
wasn't quite sure from this is Mike, but I think it's a good result for Aghamore, because certainly the ball was, I think it was, they were trying to get Ross Egan on the end of it, and Ross hasn't got that that kind of an engine to get on the end of that pass. Was always drifting away from him. But a 45, it's an opportunity for the goalkeeper maybe to pull it back to a single point.
As we tick into additional time at the end of the first half, a first half that has ebbed and flowed. We had that early goal 2 minutes in from Darren McHale that set the county champions up nicely. Then you had Aghamore's mini revival that got them level, and as John said, this is Adam Byrne's big moment, and Adam Byrne has taken it with both hands. That's a brilliant kick by the Aghamore goalkeeper, and it's good enough to slice the gap in half. One again in it.
Absolutely, and a fantastic strike, no question about it, but a great result out of attack that had more or less petered out and got a rather fortuitous 45. Wasn't quite sure if it hit off a Knockmore man, but nonetheless brings it back to a single point game.
So 1-3 for the county champions, 5 points for the challengers from Aghamore on a lovely day borrowed from high summer here in Knockmore. It's certainly in stark contrast to the conditions we had in Kilmena last night. It's like a different world down here as Kevin McLaughlin cuts inside, puts the boot to the floor, moves up through those gears. McLaughlin looking to roll back the years there one more time. Shot flashes wide, would have been some score.
Absolutely, but I'm just up close watching the engine that he has. He just pulls the choke and he drifts away from his midfield guy from Aghamore there, but just obviously kicking into a strong enough breeze, because you would have expected Kevin maybe to put that over the bar, but again, just classy footballer. I
think as they say in soccer parlance, he's issuing a come and get me plea to Kevin McStay here in this first half. Kevin McLaughlin, I gather I think one of the Mayo management team are here. They're spread out all across the county this weekend, from Kevin McStay to Stephen Rochford, Liam McHale, Donny Buckley, Damien Mulligan. They're clocking up the miles, scouting for talent this weekend as Sean O'Tygue tries to burst a gut getting on the end of that. But that's the second time in a row now a pass has gone in over the head of the full forward line. Breeze or no breeze, they are
a little
they're
bit
giving
overcooked.
away possession easily.
Yeah, a little bit overcooked, and that's been maybe a trend of Aghamore in the first half. Just giving the ball away a little bit cheaply, you know, working their socks off to retain possession, and then someone just does something a little bit stupid. But it just gives an indication as well, Mike, of the strength of the breeze that's very much favouring Aghamore in that first half.
So we're in the third minute of additional time. Will we have an equaliser from Aghamore? Can Knockmore stretch their lead? Aidan Orme, one of the Mayo senior panellists on show in this game. Nice dainty footwork from him. Just pops the ball over the head of Boland, and McLaughlin delivers it just the way Conall Dempsey would have wanted. Bounces up nicely, as they say, with the O'Neills facing him. Dempsey has to just make some room for himself. Sprays it across towards Declan Melvin, who calls the mark. Clever play, and Melvin is shaping up like a man who's going to have a shot at goal here. Kicking into the window, decides against it. Conall Dempsey instead takes over. He's got a big right boot on him, Conall Dempsey. Goes for the score, and that instead flies out and wide. It's Knockmore's third wide of the first half, and it's a first, I believe, from Conall Dempsey.
Yeah, Conall will be a little bit disappointed with that first half, but there was one indication they're definitely kicking into a strong enough breeze here, because I'd have expected Conall maybe to get that on target, but there is quite a strong breeze here, certainly favouring Aghamore.
Kick out secured, possession secured. That was a fine take by Sean O'Tygue in the centre of the field. David Kenny now again. Once he sees that opening, his first instinct is to drive on through it as McNeve, the substitute James McNeve, pops this in over the top for Boland to get after. He's got the short back and sides as well for this first round game. Now Conor Byrne gets the shot away, gone to ground, fouled in the act of squeezing the trigger. And Aghamore will get their chance to go in level at half time by the looks of things, because we couldn't have much longer left to play now, as Conor Byrne gets some treatment and Aghamore decide who'll kick the free. I think, in fact, he may get the honour himself once he's recovered, but this would be quite the result for Aghamore, John, if they were to go in at half-time level.
I agree. It would be a great boost for them going into that dressing room at half-time to be on parity, bearing in mind for the last 4 or 5 minutes they've been without their captain James Lyons, who's off on a black card. But this is a great opportunity to go in level, and they'll be very, very pleased. I'm not in any way undermining their quality or anything like that, and they have certainly a great chance here in the second half if they go in a level at half time. But they played quite impressive football. I've been very impressed with Tom O'Flaherty. You said I think he's only 18 years of age. He's been fantastic, very athletic and hungry for ball, and he's been very, very impressive for me in the last quarter.
So Conor Byrne with the free. This to level the match in the 35th minute, and over it goes, and there goes the half-time whistle. And Aghamore, well, they bounce into the dressing room with a spring in their step. They are level with the county champions at the halfway mark, 1-3 to 6 points. Knockmore leading 1-1 to no score after 6 minutes. It took Aghamore 11 minutes then to get back on level terms, and since then they have split 4 points evenly between them. But crucially, Aghamore with the last two of the half, a 45 from Conor Byrne, or from Adam Byrne rather, a free from Conor Byrne, and we're right back at square one, 1-3 to 6 points, and it's set up beautifully now for the second half.
I have to say, I'm really looking forward now to the second half, but yeah, after that, I won't say a disaster, but a very, very poor start from Aghamore, conceding that early goal to Darren McHale. The rescue has been fantastic from them, and they've been really, really impressive. And, you know, at various times you had, the likes of Fergal Boland, who certainly has been very, very impressive in that first half, and Ross Egan chipped in with a good score as well, and Conor Burns, you say. But it's the work ethic of the Aghamore boys in particular that has caught my eye. Of course, Knockmore are probably that they have a little bit more class and skill, and Kevin McLaughlin has been hugely impressive for them. less so maybe Conal Dempsey, Aidan Norm, Peter Knockton, but it just gives an indication that Knockmore forward line hasn't fired because of the quality of defending and the numbers back from Aghamore. Can they sustain it? Can they sustain that intensity down the second half? And you would suspect with that breeze favouring Knockmore in the second half that it just might be enough to get them over the line. But notwithstanding what I've just said, Aghamore certainly are in here with a chance.
Quick one, John, before we tuck into the refreshments that have been brought up to us here by Knockmore. If you were brought in for a quick consultancy session by Ray Dempsey at half time here, what's the message going to be from him? What would you be saying if you were in that dressing room?
Well, look, I mean, as double county champions, you would expect them to be better. They have stuttered in that first half, and here's the one, one or two guys. And I've mentioned him several times. Kevin McLaughlin has been hugely impressive, but he needs more from his half forward line. He needs more from his inside forward line. But now in the second half, he'll be anxious to get more direct ball. I mean, to cut out the silly little pop passing in the half around the middle third of the field. Look for direct ball. Throw Conal Dempsey in on the edge of the square with his height and physique, and create with himself maybe a twin prong there with Peter Knock himself. The pair of them in there, and maybe Aidan Norm feeding off them. Go direct for the first 10-15 minutes and bomb in a few skulls and see what you can do, because clearly with Aghamore playing that defensive strategy and playing with numbers and sweepers back, it's very, very difficult to get that quality ball inside. And with the exception of Kevin McLaughlin, he's the only one that's doing it and doing it quite successfully. But I think Ray will be disappointed with Knockmore in that first half. He will be a little bit concerned, and of course, the wind never wins a game for anybody, but he will be a little bit concerned at the fact that they aren't playing as sweet as he would expect.
Well, my thanks to John for his analysis in that first half. Knockmore will have the breeze, of course, in the second half. Just a couple of quick half times to give you. Castlebar Mitchells lead Charlestown by 8 points to 2 at half time, while in another of the senior club championship games at half time, Ballintubber leading Mayo Gales by 9 points to 3. Killian O'Connor putting a penalty over the bar with the last kick of the first half in Clogher. And here at St Joseph's Park in Knockmore at half time in the sunshine, it's Knockmore 1-3, Aghamore 6 points. We'll be back with the second half very shortly. Very welcome back to St Joseph's Park in Knockmore. Teams back out ahead of the start of the second half. Just looking around the field, doesn't look like there's any changes being made at this stage by Paddy Finnegan, but Ray Dempsey has made one, or has he? No, that's Kieran King actually, number 24, who's over there in the far corner. So it's as you were for Knockmore and Aghamore as the second half gets underway. You're watching the Connacht Mayo Senior Club Football Championship. It's the first round and it's all square, 1-3 to 6 points. Quite a similar game that we witnessed here in last season's first round encounter. It was tight, tense, cagey for a long time in that game before Knockmore eventually got their engine running and ran out 113 to 10-point winners. They will be hoping for something similar here as Darren McHale slips in on the end of this move and normal service has been resumed. Knockmore back in front.
Yeah, in fairness, it's great vision by Conal Dempsey. He switched the play from the near side here right across the far side, and Darren McHale, who was on the 30-metre line here 5 seconds earlier, raced across and got a fantastic little pop pass and kicked a fine score. Wind, if anything, I think Mike has strengthened in favour of Knockmore, and I just feel that they pose more of a goal threat as well. So it'll be interesting to see how Aghamore set up in the second half here.
So that's 1-1 for Darren McHale, man who came off the bench against Kildare in the championship earlier this year, made such a big impact at Croke Park. So did this man, Fergal Boland. Shot smashes back off the post. It would have been the instant reply, the perfect reply from Aghamore, but not to be. Remember, of course, Aghamore right now still playing with 14 men because James Lyons still in the sin bin for a few more minutes, but will be back on shortly. So it's the 15 men of Knockmore who attack the goal away to our left. Aidan Orme takes a toe tap and a second. Pierce Rutledge just jogged by there just to pull David Kenny out of Aidan Orme's road. Darren McHale is doing his best to get free. Orme takes on the shot, and that is superb from Aidan Orme. Well, a touch of class from the Knockmore full forward, and they're two in front.
I get the impression they got a bit of a chewing from Ray at half time because there's a greater urgency to Knockmore in that first couple of minutes, and even athletically around the park, even his own son Conal Dempsey has pulled the choke out and making hard runs. But a lovely score from Aidan Orme, just displaying for the first time here this afternoon his class and his ability.
Yes, Aidan Orme with his first score of the match. It comes just a few minutes into this second half, and the county champions now looking a bit more like their old selves. They have hit some turbulence in the group stages in the last year or two, though. Ballina Stephenites and Belmullet games spring to mind, so it hasn't been all plain sailing for them, but they, at the same time, John, they've just developed this knack, this ability of winning big games when it's all on the line.
Well, that old cliche, it's all about playing your best when it matters most. And at this early stage, no point in peaking right now. It's all about trying to get into the playoff stages of the county championship and hitting the sweet spot at a county semi-final or final. And they have proven that they're adept and quite capable in that regard.
Well, Conal Dempsey has gone down and looks to be in a bit of trouble. David Kenny is encouraging him to get back up again, but some 50 yards away, Aghamore have the ball. So it'll be interesting to see now if Jerome Henry goes back to consult with his linesmen. I'm not sure what happened, but Conal Dempsey is still on the ground, and now the physio is going in to attend to him. The game continues in the background. David Kenny is now on the ball. He's made a burst forward to try and support this attack as Aghamore continue to work their way around the 45, try and plot their way through this very congested Knockmore cover. That's a nice ball into Sean O'Tygue. Hadn't time to call the mark. He's under pressure. That looked like a foul. No free. Now the whistle sounds, and I think the free has gone Knockmore's way. Jerome Henry seems to be signalling that Sean O'Tygue threw the ball when I think, John, you felt it was free the other way, but now you've got the Conal Dempsey issue to deal with too.
I didn't see anything. What happened to Conal Dempsey? He appears to be holding his face or his head, and if that's the situation, perhaps maybe he should be flagged by the linesman. It was closer to it than Jerome to stop the play, because that's the only time you're allowed to stop the play for a head injury. But no, I felt that Aghamore were fouled there. I thought that was a free in for Aghamore, certainly. Yes, you correctly suggested, Mike, that he might have thrown the ball, but I think he was fouled before that. But nonetheless, it's an opportunity to see if Conal Dempsey is fit to play on.
So Jerome Henry is having a word with his linesman on the far side.
Is the book out?
He certainly has, and the nearest Aghamore player to Connell when he went down was David Kenny, so I'd imagine that's who he's looking for, and indeed it is. So David Kenny is being called in. Now the question is, what did the linesman see, and what colour will the card be?
Well, this is if he's down for striking, and it appears that Conall Dempsey was holding his face, well then one would think it might be red. I hope not, for the sake of the game.
Well, David Kenny is already walking. That's not a good start from an Aghamore perspective. Now he's gone back again. It's a yellow card. I think David Kenny there, he gave us the impression he was fearing the worst, but perhaps relieved. So it's a yellow for Kenny. Conall Dempsey is back up on his feet again. That's the good news. And in comes Keith Rutledge, just to keep us on our toes here. Keith Rutledge is joining the action. Very experienced inside forward. And it's actually Conall Dempsey who's being taken out. So perhaps this is a temporary substitution. I'm not quite sure. But Conall Dempsey is going to head off and get some attention. And in comes Keith Rutledge. So this gives Ray Dempsey the first chance to run his bench, as it were. And Keith Rutledge, not a bad sub to have.
Oh, a very, very experienced sub and a very good footballer. But I don't see any sign of blood there on Conall Dempsey. So it seems to be a direct substitution.
So off comes Conall Dempsey. We'll keep an eye on the Knockmore dugout. Back in the game and back on the ball is Declan Melvin. Nice ball, slide rule pass down the line towards Darren McHale, who has started the second half like he means business. He's on the ball, he's trying to make something happen. Gives it to Knockton. There was a foul that was spotted by Jerome Henry. I think he was playing an advantage. Now he gives the free in. But again, once that Knockmore attack starts to move, Aghamore are busy.
Yeah, I think Conor Hunt was pulling back Darren McHale there. But as you rightly suggested there, Mike, Darren McHale has started the second half like he means business. He's involved in every attack in the start of the second half and proving a handful for that Aghamore defence right now.
So Knockmore with 2 points already in this second half. Peter Knockton looking to make it 3. You can see the trees there behind the Aghamore goal. They're swaying gently in the breeze. That breeze is behind Peter Knockton's back, but he's pushed this across the face of goal and out for a fourth Knockmore wide, their first of this second half.
Yeah, I'm just looking at Conall Dempsey here on the sideline. Certainly it's not a blood sub. Whether he gets away with being a blood sub or not is another question, but he appears to be taking a bit of a breather, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's reintroduced at some stage.
So Adam Byrne with a big booming delivery right down on top of James McNeve, beaten in the air by Orm. Quick delivery to Pierce Rutledge. This is where Knockmore are so dangerous, when they move that ball quickly. Rutledge, Shane McHale, nice little dummy. McHale shoots well wide. The build up again though, very easy on the eye. Yeah,
Shane wouldn't be known as a strong finisher. Like, I mean, formerly a full back and in more recent times midfield, but possibly should have recycled it. But it had opened up for him, and maybe he did the right thing in having it, but it was well wide.
Nice little short clipped kick out from Adam Byrne to Tom O'Flaherty, and the ball driven forward by David Kenny. Now there's an Aghamore man gone down. I think he was hit late.
It appeared to be late, Mike, and it's that man who has really impressed me in the first half, Tom O'Flaherty. He's very athletic, very pacey, and he has a great appetite to get on the ball. He's not afraid to play. He's been hugely impressive, and certainly got a late, I think it's a yellow if it was.
Yellow for Keith Rutledge. He's only on the field a couple of minutes, and in fact it's going to be his first and last contribution. He's being taken out again. It was a temporary substitution. Yellow for Rutledge, and back in comes Conall Dempsey.
A little bit of gamesmanship there, Mike, because there was certainly no sign of blood on Conall Dempsey, but an opportunity to get a bit of game time into Rutledge and give Conall Dempsey a breather, and that's exactly what happened.
So Sean O'Tighe now trying to work his way through that Knockmore backline. He was just pushed over there by Adam Knockton after he'd played the pass, but it's all fair in love and war, I think, in that particular part of the field. Now this is an injection of pace by Conall Hessian. Ball delivered to Conor Hunt. That little fake bounce to get away from the defender, and Colm Reap has spilled it, and Colm Reap had to get down smartly to atone for his first mistake. The man who was herring in on top of him there was James Lyons, I think, who's back in the game in the last couple of minutes, and that so could easily have ended up in the back of the net.
Yeah, he was entitled to go for the ball. Colm, as you rightly said, Colm in the Knockmore goal spilled it. It was one that maybe I thought Conor Hunt thought might creep over the bar. Could have creeped in under the crossbar as well, but he made He clutched to the ball, unfortunately spilled it, and he's lying on the ground. I don't know was there contact made, but I don't think he's too bad. Colin Reid, that is.
Yeah,
But he got down smartly after making a mistake.
Yeah, James Lyons is just back in a couple of minutes, and I suppose he's trying to make up for lost time, and he sprinted in on that breaking ball. Now Colm Reap is down injured, but just thinking back to the incident itself, John, Colm would have expected to have held that ball in the first place, and now he's paid the price.
Just a little bit, like, I mean, we've said it there at half time, Mike. I mean, Knockmore are certainly misfiring. They're not as fluid as you would expect for championship football. They're probably just going to do about enough, one suspects here, maybe to creep over the line, but far from impressive, with the exception of a few players. And it's just intermittent football they're playing. You know, they're little spurts, but and this is just a little example of it now. I'm not in any way. Colm Reap has really impressed me since he came into goal for Knockmore. His kickouts have been absolutely brilliant, and he's acted as a sweeper. But he's up and moving again. But just a little a lack of fluency in the Knockmore performance this afternoon.
Yeah, Colm Reap, who's been knocking around the Mayo panel for the last couple of seasons, behind Rob Henley and Rory Byrne in the pecking order last season. You'd imagine he'll get his chance under Kevin McStay at some stage in 2023, but he's up again, good to go, as is Conal Dempsey, and Aghamore back up to the full complement as well. So 1-5 plays 6 points. Still no score though for Aghamore in this second half as we tip towards the midway point. Conor Byrne drifts forward again, thought about the pass, instead cuts inside, now delivers to Michael McNeve and Boland. Boland looking to give the eyes to the cornerback, that's Sean Holmes. Ball instead transferred outside to James Lyons, who makes an angle, shoots, and that's caught in the wind and dragged well away to the right and wide. That's 4 wides for Aghamore. It's their first of the second half, and that will give Ray Dempsey a chance to bring in some fresh legs. Liam Durkin, who has made quite a name for himself as an impact sub in the last couple of seasons. He is a real live wire, and he's coming in to the Knockmore attack, and they're taking out number 6, Conor Flynn. So this is a tactical change as much as anything.
Absolutely. Like, I mean, obviously conscious that wind and maybe getting fast early ball into a lively substitute that you just alluded to there. But getting back to James Lyons had an easy opportunity there to clip a point, and unfortunately for him, it kicked it harmlessly wide. But certainly that was an opportunity for Aghamore to bring it back to 2.
So another heavy challenge in the centre of the field. Aidan Orme was on the receiving end. Now Knockmore will get the free, but that's about it, I think. There won't be any other action taken by Jerome Henry, who's just explaining to Ross Egan there why he's given the free in the first place. But interesting to note, these teams didn't play in the league this season. I think the scheduled game, the slated game, went by the wayside. Not quite sure who exactly stepped back and decided against playing the game, but you can see why. They wanted to keep their focus on this game, keep their powder dry, as it were. And at this stage in the second half, still in theory it's all to play for, but Knockmore are starting now to look like their old selves as Orme cuts in. Orme shoots. Oh, it's gone in. Aidan Orme with a snapshot finish that deceives Adam Byrne, and the ball's in the back of the net, and the county champions all of a sudden find themselves 5 points in front. A goal from absolutely nothing. Yeah,
I mean, just I always felt there's a greater goal threat in this Knockmore attack, and Aidan Orme with a snapshot. But they're just beginning to motor. Darren McHale is involved in a lot of the good stuff that Knockmore are doing. And I think it was he, and of course Kevin McLaughlin, who started that attack initially down here outside the 45 line in front of us. Just injected a bit of pace and intensity into it. But right now, like, I mean, Knockmore begin to look comfortable, and when you see the 1 or 2 chances that Aghamore have missed at the start of the second half, you just begin to question where the scores for Aghamore are going to come in the second half. They are playing against a stiff enough breeze, but I think the penny has dropped with Knockmore. It's time to start playing, and they have indicators here at the start of the second half that they mean business.
Well, the linesman Christopher Burke on this near side has got his work cut out at the moment. He's just trying to encourage the Knockmore management team to take a step back, as it were, to step back into their technical area. But it's serious business, this senior club championship. The county title holders are intent on keeping a tight grip on the Montclair Cup, and Ray Dempsey just delivering the message there a moment ago. Drive it on. and that in the wake of Aidan Orme's goal. 1-1 for Aidan Orme, 2-5 for Knockmore, and now 15 minutes and counting since Aghamore last put a score on the board. The visitors are beginning to lose their way as Conall Dempsey gets in to win a dirty ball, gives it to Shane McHale, back to Dempsey again. This is more like it now from Knockmore, the fast break football. Knockton looking to give it around the corner to Darren McHale. As they say, he gets the separation on David Kenny. Did well there to use the body. Back towards his brother Shane, who slides in to win it. He's such a big, strong, powerful man, but just lost the ball in the tackle. And Aghamore will try and break out of their own defence again. They are working might and main, trying to engineer that 7th point. It's proving very difficult to put on the board though, as Conor Byrne breaks out, Ross Egan is fouled, Aghamore get the free. That's what you call a tactical foul.
I think so, and it's that man Kevin McLaughlin who's just after committing the last 2 fouls now. He's obviously wants to slow frustrate Aghamore, slow them down, and that's very clever gamesmanship from Kevin McLaughlin. He should have sucked a yellow card there, but he got away with it because he's after committing the last 2 fouls.
So Paddy Finnegan, Desi Campbell and Martin Hunt have decided to make a change. Kieran Harrison, brother of Brendan, is in, and they're taking out Justin Kelly, who doesn't look pleased, shall we say, with the decision. But then again, John, you're taken off in a championship game when you're not injured. You're not going to be happy.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, they need a bit of leadership now from someone. I can understand a little bit of frustration creeping in the sideline of Aghamore. They are chasing the game now big time, and it's going to be a huge uphill task for them to even come close to Knockmore, I suspect. So I just got the impression they need a goal, and they certainly don't look like scoring one against that Knockmore defence.
Fergal Boland penalised for over-carrying, and I was just about to say he hit 8 points here against Knockmore in the first round last year. Sean Holmes has done a terrific job so far on him.
He's a marked man. A lot of the pre-talk would have been in the Knockmore camp would be just snuffing him as a threat. He's the big threat in the Aghamore game. To a lesser extent, I thought maybe the likes of James Lyons, but James Lyons has been well marshalled as well. But I'd rightly say Fergal Boland, who started quite well in the first half, but just began to fade because they're losing a lot of primary possession around mid of the field because the likes of Shane McHale has begun to dominate around there now.
Yeah, Ray Dempsey, as he so often does, has got the matchups right in the defence. And his team now 5 points in front as the captain, David McHale, delivers a lovely ball to Knockton. He could have taken the mark. He plays on and he kicks a score at his leisure to push Knockmore 6 in front, 3 for Knockton, and the county champions absolutely humming now. Yeah,
Peter Knockton certainly had an overlap there. He could have a little bit more vision if he wanted to. There was certainly a goal chance on, but probably did the smart thing, just opening up the gap and frustrating Aghamore yet again.
That's now 1-3 without reply from Knockmore in this third quarter. Their defence are getting on top. Their forward line look revitalised. And around the middle, Kevin McLaughlin and Shane McHale are directing operations. Orme into McLaughlin, looking to win his 3 in a row this season along with the rest of his teammates. That is a delicious ball. Dempsey, McHale, what a goal! Absolutely unstoppable from Darren McHale, his 2nd of the game. Adam Byrne beaten, all ends up, and the county champions look the part, 9 in front.
They're cruising. I said at half time, I said it to one of the Knockmore boys here in front of me that it's probably a 3 or 4 point breeze with that breeze, they've opened up here. 3-6 to 6 points now, and they're beginning to sparkle, and Darren McHale has really impressed, and he's been superb in the second half. But Shane McHale has got a foothold around middle of the field as well, and Aghamore begin to struggle there around that department, and they're relying on scraps up front. So the likes of Fergal Boland, who was playing quite well, and Conor Hunt, they're just starved of possession now. So it's a lonely road for them now to the end of this game, and I just hope that it's not an absolute rout, because the first half they were quite impressive. But you mentioned about the elusive and pace of the Knockmore substitute was Liam Durkin who came in. The quality of his pass, he took out 2 Aghamore defenders with the vision and the quality of his foot pass into Darren McHale. It was as good as I've seen here this afternoon. Really superb. And you mentioned when he came on that he makes an impact. He certainly has.
Yeah, Liam Durkin is a player that they rate very, very highly here in Knockmore. He's a name you're going to hear a lot more about. Made a huge impact against Gary Moore in that championship, that big championship game last season that was on the line for a long time down in Bacon. But Durkin and Keith Rutledge came in that night and helped to turn the game. His pass sets up Darren McHale for his second goal of the game, and that's now 1-4 without reply in this second half for the champions. 3-6 to 6 points, and almost 20 minutes now since Aghamore scored. That just underlines the difficulties they're having.
Yeah, they're beginning to struggle now. It's a lonely enough place to be when things are going against you, and Knockmore have got the finger out, so to speak, and I'd say got a good chewing at half time. But yeah, Darren McHale in the second half has been absolutely superb, and this man on the ball now, Kevin McLaughlin, again, yeah, controlling things and providing the leadership you would expect from an inter-county footballer of his stature.
Well, it was said all week in the build-up and in the previews that they remain the team to beat, and it has certainly looked like that in this second half as Knockmore just blew out the dirty petrol and started to play. And Aghamore, who did so much right in the first half and gave Knockmore plenty to think about. It's been a different story in this second half so far.
And there, Mike, is an example of the guile and the experience. Like, I mean, you have different Knockmore players knowing when to foul, know when to snuff the Aghamore attack and just take the wind out of their sails, so to speak, with a cute foul. And we've seen 3 or 4 examples of that in the second half. That's experience.
Darren Duffy is in and on for Aghamore. He's been on the ball twice there in this build-up. He was looking to release the big runner, Michael McNeve, but nothing doing down the middle. Knockmore have just clogged up that area around the D. They're forcing Aghamore out to the wings, away from goal. And to be honest, very little doing out there either in this second half, as McLaughlin just playing the game at his own pace. Gives it to Pierce Rutledge, the number 8 to the number 10, and Rutledge finds Orm. It's total football from Knockmore now. Orm accelerates through, sets his feet, and shoots and scores on the run. That is as good as it gets.
Yeah, a fine second half performance from Aidan. Because I was wondering, I was beginning to doubt his ability, so to speak, in the first half, but in the second half he's been superb. A goal and 2 points. Just giving an example there of his acceleration and his pace, and you know that's the thing about Knockmore, the patience they've displayed here. They are really, really comfortable. 3-7 to 6 points ahead, and it's an opportunity for Ray Dempsey to keep them on their toes, so to speak, and he probably empty his bench now because they're certainly home and host in this game this afternoon.
Well, Aghamore have just made another change. They've certainly taken out James Lyons, just trying to put a name and number on the player that's come in. But you'd imagine now at this stage, Paddy Finnegan already has one eye on next weekend's second round game with Ballahadreen. That's where Aghamore's focus will turn very shortly, as Boland for once gets away from Sean Holmes and kicks a fine score, his second of the game. And that is Aghamore's first score of this second half.
Yeah, and a good one it was. Fergal and made a space, created the room for himself. A little dummy from, I think it was away from Sean Holmes, who's, as you mentioned earlier, Mike has done a fantastic job marking him. But yeah, Fergal is the one guy now that's trying to keep the head up and keep this Aghamore performance moving. But yeah, difficult for them.
So 3 clear goals between the teams now. 2 of those goals scored by Darren McHale, the other by Aidan Orm. And Knockmore's second round clash with the Stephenites next weekend on the horizon. That's a lovely dummy from Peter Knockton to beat the defender. Liam Durkin goes down, bounces back up again, and Jerome Henry's given a free out for overcarrying. But that dummy solo from Knockton, well, let's hope we see it again.
Yeah, a bit of class, no question about it. And unfortunately for young Liam Durkin, he lost his footing, but it certainly was an open goal chance for him had he retained his footing there. But as you say, sublime bit of skill from Peter Knockton.
Enda Sweeney on the ball for Aghamore. Back to Tom O'Flaherty. Well, it's all about rolling up their sleeves now and gritting their teeth from an Aghamore perspective in these last 8 or 10 minutes. Liam Lavin, the man who's come in off the bench. Lavin shoots, Wind just got a hold of it, and that has dropped away to the right and wide. That's 5 wides for Aghamore as Knockmore decide to bring in Marcus Park. Started last year's county final win over Belmullet. Didn't start today, but he'll get 6 or 8 minutes now to try and impress Ray Dempsey. And it's Kieran King who's taken out. So not alone, John, have they built this really impressive first 15 over the last few seasons, but the strength of their bench, because I'm just thinking, we haven't seen Charlie Burke yet. He's getting ready to come in now, but Charlie Burke and Keith Rutledge right now cooling their heels as Knockmore pull away here.
But the luxury of being able to bring in a sub, you know, when they're comfortably ahead, there's no real pressure on the sub. It's a big difference psychologically coming in if you're chasing a game. So it's an opportunity for Ray to keep a couple of lads on their toes, and that's exactly what he's doing. So it's a comfortable bench down. Look at down the Knockmore management there. So this game is one for them now. So he has that luxury of being able to run out a few players and see what they're like.
Well, the county champions have won this second half so far by 2-4 to a point. They have been utterly dominant in a group that also includes the Stephenites and Ballahadreen. And you get the feeling there's a lot of football still to be played before those quarter-final places are handed out. But no doubt it's Knockmore and Ballina who are most people's favourites to go through, as Knockton takes on an almighty effort, and it wasn't very far away. In fact, if we had Hawkeye, we'd probably have to use it, John.
I think so.
That
one
wide.
I think it was wide. But I agree with you. It was a boom, certainly a boom of a kick from Peter Knockton. But no need to do it. But it was just an opportunity for him to hone his shooting, so to speak, because as I say, they're very, very comfortable here at the moment.
This is Conor Byrne trying to inject some pace into this move. Feeds it back as far as Liam Lavin, who took on the shot all right, but just didn't have enough power behind it. There's a breeze blowing into his face, and just was outside his range. Knockmore, who won this corresponding fixture by 6 points last year. They're 9 up at the moment. And really all that remains to be settled at this stage is the margin of victory, you'd imagine. Can they top it up a little? Have Aghamore got a kick in them as Pierce Rutledge spots the run of arm. Oh, it's wide open back there, and luckily from an Aghamore perspective, Connor Hunt had read the danger and just nipped across to beat Aidan Orme to the punch, and the danger cleared as far as Darren Duffy, one of the handful of Aghamore substitutes who have come in off the bench, to Tom O'Flaherty hugging that left sideline over on the far side of the field. Player coming across to challenge is Pierce Rutledge. Not a whole lot of movement for O'Flaherty, so he'll continue to carry. Now Liam Lavin makes a burst inside. Very good hurler, Liam Lavin, with indeed school and club. Hurls with Turin like so many of his teammates. Down goes Boland, and that is a stone wall free in. He was rugby tackled to the ground, really, Boland. They were going to stop one way or the other, as Ray Dempsey decides now is as good a time as any to spring that double substitution. Charlie Burke and Keith Rutledge are coming in for the last few minutes, and it is Peter Knockton who will be wrapped up in cotton wool for the next week or so, along with Pierce Rutledge ahead of that game with the Stephenites.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of surprised that Kevin McLaughlin isn't being rested. You know, he's a guy that has obviously played a huge amount of football the last number of years, but look at Ray knows best, and Peter Knockton had quite a good game. I think that was 3 points in total, but he's a footballer I've admired the last couple of years. A shame in a way to see him travelling across the border down to Sligo, but I thought he might have warranted a call up to the Mayo setup 32 years ago, but he's a talented footballer for sure.
So the free converted by Conor Byrne, that makes it 3-7 to 8 points. Gap stands at 8, and as we mentioned a little earlier, it is normal service resumed by Knockmore, as Adam Knockton, who I can tell you is all there, the Knockmore number 3. Saw him hand out a few hits in a few league games recently, and he is certainly not a full back to be trifled with, but he has overcarried here. Just took a step or two too many. I think he was determined to get a score there, and the blinkers were on. Free out.
Yeah, he's like old school for sure, but it's had a fine game, and as you say, when he decides to go, he goes, and very unlucky there. He just lost his footing at the moment. But I think he dummied a couple of guys there 2 or 3 times on the way of that 80-metre burst.
John, there'll be so much focus obviously on the Knockmore Ballina game next weekend. Yeah. So many people looking forward to it. But the prospect of Ballahadreen going to Aghamore is equally as fascinating in its own way. Ballahadreen have the point that nobody expected them to get from last night, and Aghamore now need to get a result.
Absolutely. There's no doubt about mouth-watering stuff for sure, but I actually fancied Ballina at the start of this championship to be there or thereabouts, but they'll be disappointed not to have won that game last night, but and a good point for Ballahadreen. But I was just by chance talking to a few of the Ballahadreen boys this morning. I met in Castlebar, and they were disappointed they didn't beat. They felt they had an opportunity to beat Ballina, but yeah, a big game for sure next weekend. Looking forward to those already.
James McNeve there trying to bulldoze his way through, but the ball taken away from him by Liam Durkin, the other number 17, manages to drive it out away from danger, where it's picked up by Charlie Burke, another very exciting young forward. They seem to have a conveyor belt, an academy here in Knockmore for producing good young forwards. So much work being done at underage by, in particular, the likes of Desi Rutledge, who's involved with so many underage teams, and indeed Nigel Reap involved as well, and known to get out in the middle of them for a kick around even at his age, as Aghamore deal comfortably with this Knockmore attack, but just as quickly and as uncomfortably they've knocked the ball out over the line. That was just a lapse in concentration. Conall Dempsey to Darren McHale. McHale, well, that's his trademark. Darren McHale coming in from that angle. He just slows himself down completely and then pops it over the bar. Easy when you know how. Absolutely.
But I'm just looking at the fitness level, the athletic ability of the Knockmore boys. Like, I mean, they're able to sustain it right throughout the 64 or 5 minutes. Aghamore, a lot of the players are goosed. But I'm just looking at the likes of Shane McHale at middle of the field and Darren McHale. They've been quite superb in the second half. Kevin McLaughlin is just rolling back the years here with superb quality display. I mean, just I wondered about him coming into this game. Was his inter-county career maybe over? But in this display here, far from it.
Well, he has certainly caught the eye all through the match, Kevin McLaughlin. By the way, 2-2 now for Darren McHale. And the story of the second half, well, that can be told in the fact that Knockmore have outscored Aghamore 2-5 to 2 points. That's when you include this their latest score there from Darren McHale a moment ago. 2-5 to 2 points. It has been Knockmore's half from start to finish, as Aghamore have a chance here to gloss the final scoreline. Good work done in the build-up by Michael McNeve, the free converted by Ross Egan, and this will give Knockmore perhaps a chance to bring in Alan Loftus for the last few minutes just to show what he can do. But the hard work has been done already by his teammates. 3-8 to 9 points, and Knockmore full value for that lead, and it is Alan Loftus for Declan Melvin. That's the change made by Ray Dempsey. Possession secured by Keith Rutledge. Now Adam Byrne had pushed out for the kick out, and the whistle sounds. Jerome Henry's given a free to Aghamore for a push. Adam Byrne was just about to get on his bike there and hit back for the goal mouth at high speed, but won't need to now. Free has gone the way of his team, and it'll be taken as quickly as they can manage by Sean Oak-Tyg, but it's all academic at this stage. Big crowd turned out for this first round game, and certainly got their money's worth in the first half, but it's been one-way traffic by and large in the second. We're now into the 4th minute of stoppage time. O'Flaherty finds Conor Byrne. This is Darren Duffy. Is there something in it for Aghamore here? Conor Byrne again lashes the shot in, and it flies over the bar. Conor Byrne hits his 4th point of the match, and he's worked really hard.
He has, and that's a fine score, I have to say. Very well taken. A little bit lower, it was at the certainly in the back of the net, because it was hit with such ferocity. But yeah, half a goal chance for them. But it's good to see them hit double figures, because I think the Aghamore performance deserved that kind of a scoreline. And yeah, they've battled well. They haven't thrown in the towel, despite the fact that they were well beaten here in the second half. But they didn't drop the heads, and they kept working really hard.
Colm Reap's kick out is delivered to Liam Durkin. he gives it back to Aaron Timlin, and Timlin has found Aidan Norm, who just sold the dummy there to Conall Hession, but Kieran Harrison did really well. He's got a lot of pace, Kieran Harrison, and that time he used it to come across and intercept that pass. Ross Egan brings in 2 defenders, releases McNeve. Michael to James. James McNeve has been fouled. Advantage being played. Now it'll be brought back for the free in. And if Aghamore can take anything from this this last 5-10 minutes, John, is that they refuse to throw in the towel.
That's the point I'm making, Mike. It's been quite encouraging, and I'm sure their management there, Paddy Finnegan in particular, would be quite pleased with that aspect, because that's a huge game next weekend against Bala, and they have it at home, obviously, and they'll certainly be looking to get something out of that. But they have demonstrated enough here, particularly that first half, and again in the last 5 or 6 minutes, that they've kept batting away. I just mentioned a few moments ago about the athletic ability of the Knockmore boys, that there seem to be a lot of energy in them, but likewise Aghamore boys kept batting away, and a few of them, and as I say, and I keep coming back to that young man, that wing half back of theirs, he in particular has been quite fantastic. Tom O'Flaherty, he's certainly one that I'll be looking forward to seeing in the future, because he's demonstrated here this afternoon the kind of fight you would expect from an Aghamore player. Some of them a little disappointed. James Lyons, I've watched him for many long number of years. Oh, there's a half off the post again. Yeah, it's a half a chance for an intercept there and a kick out by Aghamore, and they had a half a chance maybe for a goal there, but hit off the crossbar. He went for a point.
Yeah, Knockmore mind's just starting to wander a little.
Yeah,
Aghamore have hit 3 scores without reply, actually. 2 from Conor Byrne, 1 from Ross Egan, and it's certainly closing the margin. It's back to 6 now. We are deep into stoppage time. I'm not quite sure where we're getting all this stoppage time for. There was a lengthy stoppage for Conall Dempsey at one stage. This is a long-range effort, a speculative effort. It's been gathered back there by Owen Delaney, who's come in the last couple of moments for Aghamore. We're into the 7th minute of stoppage time. Maybe Jerome is playing a 35-minute half, John.
Well, I suppose 30 seconds for every sub, and there's probably been 7 of them in the second half. There's 3.5 minutes. So, but like I say, the game is done and dusted. We're just it's a futile exercise now, and I don't think anybody would have any complaints if he blew it up.
So Knockmore 6 points in front. Aghamore still chasing hard as the ball is delivered back to Conall Hession, and there goes the full-time whistle. Knockmore get the job done on the back of a much improved second half display. Handshakes all round on the sideline. Ray Dempsey and his team will move on to bigger challenges ahead, beginning with the Stephenites next Sunday. One scoreline just coming in one of the other senior championship games, John. It'll have a few eyebrows raised, I'm sure, when it starts to circulate around the county. Mitchell's beating Charlestown by just a point in the end, 11-10. A lot of people would have expected that to be a lot easier. Yeah,
I mean, obviously as league champions, Castlebar Mitchell were a very young team, quite inexperienced team. But Charlestown, are game. There's no question about it. They're a hard team to beat, and Mitchells will probably be relieved. Their second team, I think, only a draw last night with Ballyhonus, so it hasn't. They've got over the line. That's the important thing, I suppose. In these early rounds of the championship, it's all about winning, and I'm sure Ray Dempsey will think the very same here today. He would be a bit concerned about their first half performance, but the second half performance was way more impressive from them. And yeah, they were a bit, as you said, they're clearing out the dirty petrol in that first half, but the second half, a lot of the guys that you'll expect to deliver performances, Darren McHale, Peter Nyochtan, Aidan Norm. And defensively, they were very, very solid. You mentioned Sean Holmes and the job he did in Fergal Bullen. But all in all, Shane McHale is another deserves favourable mention. The second half, he was manly and worked his socks off. But, Knockmore got the business done. But credit to Aghamore. I thought, we mentioned it just a few moments ago, Mike, they never threw in the towel. 11 points from them. Unlucky enough with a couple of other chances that might have gone over. They could have maybe narrowed the gap a little bit more. But Knockmore were the better team here this afternoon. More experience, more guile, a little bit more class, and above all, a bigger goal threat up front. So, business done. They can move on, but encouraging for Aghamore. As I say, there's a couple of fascinating games now next weekend. But yeah, it's off to a good start.
Before I ask you, John, for your selection for man of the match, just a couple of very quick questions. I see one man there in the middle of the Aghamore warm down, Brendan Harrison, the all-star defender who's out at the moment with a knee injury. He's recovering from a cruciate ligament injury. What a difference he would have made and he will make. Huge loss for Aghamore.
Absolutely. I mean, he's a one-class player that they've produced, obviously, the last number of years, notwithstanding, you know, the couple of lads that have played underage for them, Ross Egan and James Lyons, Fergal Boland. But a man of that stature and a good guy to boot, because any time I've met him, I've always been impressed. He's an absolute gentleman and the DNA and gene pool is good. So yeah, he would be a huge asset to them, and it's just a shame to see the number of cruciates we have right around the country. I'm above and awfully. Last year we had three cruciates, and it's a feature of modern inter-county football. I don't know what it is. It's the quality of the pitches or what it is, but a lot of cruciate injuries. So let's hope we see him back healthy and well for Aghamore's sake, and for Mayo County and the Mayo senior team as well.
And the last word on Knockmore, we said at the outset they were the team to beat. They're going for 3 in a row. Did you see anything this afternoon that makes you think otherwise?
I didn't really, to be quite honest with you. I mean, you know, I thought maybe a month or two ago, with the depth that Ballina appear to have, that they might be right up there. Gary Moore, another difficult team. Castlebar Mitchells, have a young, inexperienced team, probably in a bit of transition. But here this afternoon, that second half in particular, once they got cleared out the dirty petrol, to use your phrase, Mike, they certainly they look very impressive in the second half, and finished very, very strongly. And the leadership that they have and the experience in the guile, and Kevin McLaughlin this afternoon was superb. In the first half, when they weren't really firing on all fronts, he provided that kind of leadership in that first half, and he was excellent in the second half. But then Shane McHale dovetailed and synchronised with him with a great strong performance from midfield in the second half. And then you had the likes of Darren McHale, who was superb. His finishing is top class. Peter Knockton, but right around the park they were very, very solid. Adam Knockton at full back, 1 or 2 little mistakes, but strong. You know, very, very strong full back, the type of guy that you need out in front. And Sean Holmes deserved favourable mention as well. He was superb there. But right around the park, and then the bench, you introduced the likes of Liam Durkin, who knows how to play in the game. Slight in stature, but plays with his head up. So they have a lot of quality. You talked about the depth that they have and the great work that's been done at underage level. Certainly they have a conveyor belt, and they're quite impressive, Mike.
Just to finish then, we're looking for one name. Everybody will be wondering, who did John Maughan pick out for his man of the match? You've mentioned the short list there, but who was the standout performer?
You know, look, it's hard to ignore Darren McHale, 2-2 at centre half forward. He was excellent. But I have to say, for me, Kevin McLaughlin, I look at, there are many in that Knockmore performance that could have put their hands up and said, hey, what about me? And there were several. But to me, the guy that was, from start to finish, that just exuded that bit of class and injected pace into it and slowed it down, and just delivered the kind of experience and guile you would hope for in a team. He is the complete Knockmore club man there this afternoon. And I thought, you know, when they were in a little bit of trouble in that first half, he's a guy that displayed the leadership. Notwithstanding Darren McHale's finish, and Aidan Orme in the second half, very impressive, and obviously favourable mention for Sean Holmes and Shane McHale. Look, I could go around them all there at this stage, but for me, Kevin McLaughlin, thought his inter-county career, there might be a question mark over it. After seeing him here today, there certainly isn't.
So Kevin McLaughlin is John Maughan's selection for man of the match. Hard to argue with that. Just to recap then, the final score from St Joseph's Park here in the Connacht Gold Mayo Senior Club Football Championship first round game. It has finished. Knockmore 3-8, Aghamore 11 points.